Hello, Canucks fans. Can we say that right now? Is everybody that's watching us a Canucks fan? You'd assume so, right? Our episode of Canucks Conversation, which is brought to you by our friends over at Greta, the home of our electric watch parties during the season and are all this summer. Greta was and would be all of the years coming down the line a great place to go watch the MLB All-Star game, which I think we're going to end up talking about today. But who knows? Who knows? My name is DeBrusk. I am joined by Irfaan Gaffar filling in for Harman. Thanks so much. We just fight last time.
Yeah, I owe you lunch.
Decisive winner.
Yeah, you were.
Thankfully, we're not getting into physical fights.
No.
We've talked about, people always make the joke that, wow, Harman got taller when you sit in his seat.
Yes. Yeah. I think I slightly have the darker skin complexion than Harman, but
you might have the height advantage on me.
Yeah, I think I have height advantage on both of you.
Maybe.
Significantly as well.
We'd have to stand and check, but anyways, we're coming to you from the iconic Wall Center in downtown Vancouver. Looking for your next meeting space? Contact the Wall Center for all your event needs at sales@wallcenter.com. We're going to be joined by Kevin Woodley in a matter of moments, but the big news, the Vancouver Canucks have signed Arturs Silovs. Or if we have some actual news to talk about, the Canucks get the final piece of their puzzle in place, leaves them with just over 100,000 in cap space. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what that all means, but your instant reaction to the Canucks signing Arturs Silovs.
Two goalies, a Vezina caliber goalie and a young up and coming goalie who has proven himself in the playoffs at under $6 million. That is a recipe for success. If you're the Vancouver Canucks, you probably are liking everything about that. You obviously like the emergence of Arturs Silovs and what he was able to do. You know, the Latvian, the shirt, the dress shirt, the everything. It was all good. It was all good. But I think that when you look at it from a Canucks perspective as a whole, there was some thought that, you know, they wanted to add a potential backup goalie to Thatcher Demko. I think they thought about it a little bit more. I think that Casey DeSmith getting his term in Dallas, good for him. Go do that. And maybe for them getting Patura to go and be a guy in Abbotsford now leaves you to have Silovs be the guy for Thatcher Demko. My question is, how many games is Thatcher Demko going to play this season? I think that that's the big one, right? How many games do you want to have Arturs Silovs? As much as he's going to practice and do all the stuff with Ian Clark, you got to get him in games at some point. So 60-22 or 60-21, or is it going to be even less? Like, I think 55 games should be the max for Thatcher Demko. You want him to be at his absolute best when playoff time rolls around. Now, Arturs Silovs is a good backup in case anything does happen. But I think that when you look at it from their point of view, it's to give Demko the rest. It's to have a guy that can go in and not just go and give you minutes, but go and give you meaningful minutes.
I've been talking about an even less split, like Demko, or excuse me, more of a split, I should say. Demko getting less games than what we just kind of outlined there.
What do you think? Like 45?
Yeah. Like, I think that's the range, right? Because you have
45, 50, yeah.
Yeah, you just have to start thinking about this team as a playoff team, right? You have to start going under the guise of, okay, what makes our team better than other teams we're going to face in the playoffs? The goaltending tandem. That's going to stand out, right? Okay, well, what does your goaltending tandem look like if it's now Arturs Silovs and Jiri Patera? And I mean, we got to see, not necessarily with Patera, but we got to see what it looks like when Thatcher Demko goes down. And the result is not great, but it was fine because Silovs was fine. But if Demko's your decisive advantage, a Vezina caliber goalie, right? If that's your advantage, protect that advantage for when it matters the most. If you don't absolutely need Thatcher Demko to play that many games, to get the wins, you shouldn't. Like that's all it comes down to, right? Is if you're getting passable goaltending and you're still getting wins with Arturs Silovs in net, that's all that matters, is that Demko's healthy for the playoffs. Those are the games that matter. That's what this team needs to start thinking.
Just 5 career playoff games for Thatcher Demko. And this team is a playoff team. Like, this team, they've shown that, you know, you were very close to making it to the conference final and, you know, eventually fell up short there. But I agree with you. I think it's 45, 50. You're going to run into a problem here where you're going to have that conversation because, you know, Demko's going to want to play and get ready for the playoffs, like in that last week of the season leading up to the playoffs.
Sure.
Say the Canucks have made it and say they're not battling for a playoff spot and things like that. I'm not saying it's going to be like this season because I don't think it's going to be, but if they're in a situation where things have clinched and they're already in the playoffs, like, are you going to give your goalie a break, or is he going to be a guy that's like, no, I need to play? Are we going to have 4 days off before games? Are there going to be 2 travel days between some of these places or where we're going? So a lot of things that they have to look at and take into consideration. But the good news is they got the goalie done. That was never not happening. The only thing that might have been a question mark is would they have found a other veteran backup for Demko? And obviously they didn't. They're deciding to go with Silovs.
I'm just looking at this situation. And again, it's mid-July. So I don't want to throw out any crazy takes. But
too late. You already said it.
I think you're going to have that pushback from Thatcher Demko. Like, everything we know about Thatcher Demko is if you sit him down and say, hey, you're going to play 45 games this year, he's not going to be happy about that.
Nope.
Do you win the Vezina if you play 45 games?
I think if you're really good in those 45 games.
If you're really good, sure.
But, I mean, you couldn't win the Jennings Trophy with those two. I mean, it's not an individual award, but, you know, Demko's sitting in Vegas and didn't win the award.
Yeah.
It's not that pretty.
I'm thinking you have to just have that conversation where it's like, yeah, you don't want this. We don't want this, but your knee keeps popping out every time.
Oh, that's the concern, right?
Yeah.
That is the concern.
And I think you have to just explain that to the player that, like, hey, this is the reason we're doing this. And we know you don't like it. And we know you can't predict when your knee's going to blow out, but it's happened a couple times now. And I think we're just going to ease you back a bit.
Yeah. I mean, they're like looking at their schedule in February. There's a lot of time off. Is Demko going to be on Team USA?
For 4 Nations, yes.
How many games is he going to play there? It's probably Hellebuck's team, but Demko probably plays at least 1 game there.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, look, a lot of the Canucks players, I mean, there will be a good contingent of Canucks players playing for their countries in that tournament, but is Demko going to get games there? And is back and okay, we're sitting Demko 2 extra games in Vancouver, but then he's going to go and play 2 games for Team USA.
Better hope Hellebuck has a good year.
Well, I mean, like, I think he probably is the guy anyway. But it's an interesting conversation to have.
Demko's certainly the backup on that team.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Who
John
starts?
Gibson?
Yeah, I was going to say John Gibson. Who starts for Team Canada? Stuart Skinner?
You're going Gibson over Swayman, eh?
Oh, yeah, Swayman. Forgot about Swayman. It's him. Yeah, no, it's Swayman.
Oh, Swayman, yeah.
Swayman in that sense might, if he has a good year, might be 2. Like, and if and if Demko doesn't, and if
his revenge for the hug.
Yeah, maybe if Hellebuck stinks, then you never know that order.
Got Jake Ottinger too, not too shabby.
Yeah, the USA is deep at the goaltending position.
Could they borrow one?
Canada is not.
Are there any guys with like dual citizenship? What's the rules on that?
I don't think so. I think once you've already played or represented your country in some in some form, you're as good.
Is that you're a soccer guy? I grew up in North Burnaby, lots of Italians. I grew up just being told all the time, yeah, Messi is Italian. He could play for Team Italy.
Well, clearly
if he wanted to. No, he didn't want to. Could he just switch?
But he rolls around like he does.
What do you mean? I don't understand the joke.
Like, you know, again, soccer players diving and rolling around on the turf.
Is that something Italians do?
And something more soccer players do. But yeah, I would say
every.
I mean, most. Yeah.
Wasn't Argentina was the one that was
well, exactly. And Messi is Italian. Apparently, according to you, he's Italian.
I'm not following anymore. All I'm asking, can guys just switch? You can't switch, right?
Yes, we got soccer on the show.
Yeah, we did get soccer on the show. We were talking about what else we were going to talk about. Let me text Kevin Woodley.
What were we talking about?
I can't remember. Well, Silovs.
Oh, no, goalies. Okay, Canadian team goalie.
Oh, yeah.
Is it Binnington?
See, I think it is. And I think if we ask Woodley this, because I think we have asked Woodley this, I think Woodley is a Binnington guy. Like, he would say it's Binnington.
Well, it's like Binnington, Aiden Hill.
Aiden Hill.
Skinner.
Stuart Skinner.
Mike Smith. No.
Goalie coach.
But see, that's the thing. It's just you're stumbling to think right now. Like, are you going Tristan Jarry?
I was going to say
not.
a name, but he's no longer.
Darcy Kemper. No. Oh, yeah.
He's the name everybody thought about.
Yeah.
Marc-Andre Fleury.
No. You know what? Maybe because it's the 4 Nations Cup and not the Olympics. He's there as a good guy. I mean, if he has a ridiculously good year.
Fleury.
Yeah. Could you see it?
For sure. I can see anybody.
Like, if he has a really good year.
Yeah.
Why not? Well, this is going to be like the old guard Team Canada too. It's like Fleury, Sid, Marchand.
Yes.
Like McKinnon. You know, McDavid's going to be the new guy. Stamkos will be there probably.
This is gonna be fun. I like this. I'm excited for this.
Yeah,
This is gonna be a
no.
lot of fun.
I think it's great, but I think it's funny that Czech wins the world, and Pasternak goes, but we're not good enough to play in the four nations.
Yeah, they're not doing it. Like, what does David Pasternak do during this time?
As David Pasternak things, goes back to Europe and just hangs out, enjoys life.
I'll give you guys one. Connor Ingram.
I think that you probably.
You're getting into the weeds, but
Dude, Grady, I don't think there's such thing as a bad take about who started for Team Canada. Like, it could
True.
be anybody. I'm glad you brought up Connor
Joel
Ingram.
Hofer,
Yeah.
Samuel Montembeau.
Okay, we're gonna move on because I don't think Kevin Woodley remembered that he's supposed to join us.
That's fine.
So we'll see. Maybe he'll be here.
Logan Thompson,
Maybe you
Oh.
want Logan Thompson. Yeah, there's a name.
Darcy Kemper.
Charlie Lindgren,
Who did Logan Thompson get traded to?
Washington.
What
Yeah.
the hell is Washington doing?
They got 2 southpaw goalie squads.
Yeah, what are they cooking?
And Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are
And
they
Jason
cooking?
Chikrin, Mangiapane.
Okay. Let's get to the what now. Let's look at the Canucks updated cap picture, Irf.
Okay.
They have a little bit of space to play with now, and we wrote about it today at Canucks Army. Smooth sailing and opportunity ahead was the headline that we went with because the Canucks have a lot of options here. We always talk about it, they could accrue cap space and have that advantage at the trade deadline. They could try to trade off Tucker Poolman. They could put Tucker Poolman on LTIR. Right now, their roster is basically set. Like, they could submit a roster on opening night that would allow them to accrue cap space as it stands right now with Arturs Silovs at $850,000.
Yeah. I think the Canucks aren't done yet. I think that there is a move to be made. I don't know how it's going to happen or what they're really going to do, but I definitely do think that the Canucks have a move in them, and it's going to be interesting whether it's before day one of training camp or before day one of the regular season or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that could maybe be different, or are they going to see how the first 2 months of the season go? But there's definitely a move that they're going to be made, and I think it could be a forward as well.
Are we talking trade? Are we talking
Trade.
signing?
I think it's trade. Yeah, I think it's trade for sure. I think that there's players that they were looking at, and just things didn't end up working out their way. But I don't think that they've given up hope on trying to do something like that.
Can you give us a name?
Nope.
Can't give us a name. Can't give us a name.
Which
I find
obviously, the player's obviously restricted right now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not Niches. He's going to get paid with all the money that Carolina has now.
Yeah. Okay, so this is interesting that you bring this up because I was just looking at what the Canucks have that they could move back in a trade. Is Niels Höglander the Canucks' most tradable asset right now?
I mean,
other than a first-round pick?
Yeah, I guess so.
But is it safe, and I know we're not talking names, is it safe to say that the move they're going to make, it's not Natchez, is not going to be significant enough that it warrants moving out a first-round pick?
It's true, unless you want to move out a first-round pick and get someone significant back. Yeah. And I think that you have to look at the way you view your team, right? Health of Brock Besser. What's his next contract going to look like as well?
Yep.
That's a big one that they have to take into consideration. Are the Canucks, later this summer, maybe before training camp, going to go to Brock Besser and his camp and say, hey, what does $50 million feel like for you guys? Or whatever the number might be.
Yeah.
And if Brock's camp is, what? We just scored 40. Let's see if we can get 42. And they're going to go into this season not doing that. Now, I know that by all accounts, Brock wants to remain a member of the Vancouver Canucks, but, we've seen in years past, when you look at guys that score 40 goals in the National Hockey League, they tend to get paid. I think his projection's like 7-8 or closer to $8 million. So, it's going to be an interesting one. If there was a player on a team that I thought that might take one of those hometown discounts, like you look around the league and stuff like that, I think it would be Brock, just because of all we've heard of him wanting to stay here, him having a meeting with Alvin and all of that. But yeah, I think the Canucks are going to go to him before the season starts and try and have a conversation, and just kind of see what it might look like. And, Ben Hankinson and then Brock Besser's agent and their camp might be like, you know what? Don't worry about it.
Okay. Kevin Woodley's here.
What's up?
There he is. Kevin Woodley is going to join us, and he is brought to you by our friends over at 4 Winds Brewing, more specifically, Featherweight. If you're looking for a nice hoppy beer but still want something light and flavorful, then look no further than the 4 Winds Featherweight IPA. At just 4.5%, this incredibly light IPA is packed full of tropical and citrusy goodness, available now at liquor stores across BC or through the 4 Winds online shop for home delivery anywhere in BC. at fourwinsbrewing.ca. Let's bring him in. The goalie maestro. Hopefully that's a first. Kevin Woodley joins us. Is it a first? Anybody ever called you the goalie maestro?
Nobody's called me a maestro ever in any regard, Quads. So you are definitely the first. I will say, however, speaking of sponsors, I've definitely been called a featherweight when it comes to drinking. So that's an appropriate beer to bring me in with. I am no Irfaan Gaffar in that respect. Let me tell you.
Oh, I've hung up the boots, Woodley. It's over. It's over.
Listen, retired Irf could probably still drink Woodley under the table.
Probably.
I had a 13% Bellini yesterday. I'm just going to throw that out there.
It
was delicious.
He's still wasted.
Yeah. It was quick. I'll be honest. I was halfway through that thing. I'm like, wow, that got to me quick. And I also am a bit of a featherweight myself. But go check out Four Winds Brewing, folks. Kevin, Canucks sign Arturs Silovs. Just your immediate reaction to the 2-year contract for Silovs.
I don't think I'm surprised. Maybe he thought the money might be a little higher, but certainly not some of the stuff that I heard others bandying about. Like, to me, this was always max 1.1 kind of deal. The reality is he just had no bargaining leverage whatsoever. Track record's incredibly small, and the raw numbers don't jump off the table. No arbitration rights. Like, it always felt like one that would get done and one that would have a really small number attached to it. So now it's sort of on him to prove it, right? That he deserves to be here, to stick here, and that he's got enough upside to warrant something longer term in the future. And I guess an opportunity to prove whether he could be the future or not for the Vancouver Canucks in that.
What we saw in the sample size of the playoffs, I know I had you on after one of the post games, Kevin, and what we're going to get on a larger scale here with this goaltending duo. If you're Ian Clark or you're looking at this and from what you know about goaltending and goaltenders, and obviously with the injury history of Thatcher Demko, what would your plan be of how to kind of get these two goalies involved and to maximize both of them?
I'm keeping in mind that if, Demko's healthy, I fully expect him to be a part of the Four Nations. Is that what we're calling it? We're calling it Four Nations, whatever this, abbreviated, version of best on best they're trying to throw at us is. I expect him to be a part of it. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see what we saw from him last year if he's a starter. So I think you do have to factor in the demands of that as part of this. And so your ideal window, your ideal target probably should be lower than it normally would be. I'd say probably in the neighborhood of, 50 to 55 max games played. And within that, you need to make sure that you don't have windows, stretches of a month and a half where, he still stays below the total, but for this month and a half, he's playing at a 65, 70 game pace, because I think that's where you run into trouble. So that's your perfect world scenario. We don't live in a perfect world. It rarely ever pans out that way. But I'd have that target pretty low because, again, if everything goes well, you have to factor in the possibility of him playing even more than he would in another season, because like I said, fully expect him to be a part of Team USA and would not be at all surprised, especially after we've seen, the playoffs for Connor Hellebuck again this season, and the way teams have some very specific things they try and target on him. If the Americans are going to try and play a more wide open game and give up east-west and give up rush, that might affect who I have in net. And I think that, even further increases the odds that it's a guy like Demko. So long ways to go to there, but I think you do have to at least include that in your planning for the season.
Kevin, we were just talking about this before you joined. We know the kind of competitor and the kind of person Demko is. How do you sit down your starting goaltender and say, hey, you know what? You're playing 45 games this year.
I don't know about 45. Come on, Quads. How do we go from me saying 50 to 55 and all of a sudden you're at 45? Don't put words in my mouth, Quads.
I've got him at 45. I'm gonna die on the hill that's the split. It should be that.
Yeah, but weren't you the guy that had Silovs making like 3 or 4 sheets on this contract too, or something?
No, I don't know where you heard that. That is not what I wrote. I was writing about a walkaway price. I was like, oh, there's no such thing as a walkaway price because Silovs doesn't have any rights or anything. So I was like, oh yeah, well, 4 million, whatever. And people are like, 4 million. Anyways, I'm not commenting any further.
I'm glad you clarified because that got back to me, and I was like, clearly there's been too many Bellinis and Quads lunch lately. So listen, it's not easy, right? Like it's not, because he is a competitor and he wants to play. And I just think you have to sell him on, the long-term situation. And, I know the narrative that surrounds him in terms of injuries is not one he's fond of. And I don't blame him. Like, I do think, that some of these injuries from one season to the next are directly related. You could, if you wanted to, fairly lump them in as sort of an extension from one to the other. And there are some where, in terms of the way it was handled, some of the return to play, some of the lack of supervision in the offseason coming off of a surgery, I don't know that it's entirely his fault, frankly. So that said, you haven't done it till you've done it. He hasn't been through a season as a number one entirely healthy. And so, until that happens, the questions will exist, fair or not. And I think you just have to sell them that's enough, right? Like that's a steady diet, that getting to the playoffs is not the goal anymore for this group. It's having success in the playoffs. And so even if you look at it from that standpoint, you sell them on the idea that we need more from you, and that every goalie in the league that plays too much ends up sputtering out come playoff time. Like that's the history. So yeah, you get to 60 and you get us into the playoffs, and maybe you win a Vezina, and maybe they have another Pacific Division, whatever it is. Those are short-term goals, and the guys who play 60 plus don't normally factor into bigger goals that this organization now would appear to have based on the way things went this season. And so that would be my sales pitch. But it's really, again, like goaltending itself, it's really easy to do from my couch.
Kevin, I've always been fascinated, away from the Canucks and stuff like that, when you get into summers and if you're chatting with guys and goaltenders especially, and how much of the workload they get during the regular season, and then obviously if you go to the playoffs and make it far in the postseason, what are summers like for goaltenders? And is it, how much different is the training and the mindset of a goaltender than it is for a player heading into a season?
Well, they've always been on the ice more.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of ways, that's why goaltenders got ahead of players. And I actually think in a lot of ways, that's why players are now getting back ahead of goaltenders, because they're finally doing the same. It's an oversimplified analogy, but it's sort of it's like the Olympic motto for players for all those years. It was bigger, stronger, faster in the summer. Some play a lot of golf. And for the last 20, 30 years, goalies were on the ice working on their skills, on their technical aspects, working on their craft. And while also still doing the training to not necessarily be bigger, faster, stronger, but to make their bodies sort of more durable for the position they play. Now we see players doing the same. So it depends on the guy, Irf. I don't think Thatcher was healthy last summer, if I remember correctly, didn't touch the ice till very late in July, maybe even July 31st. Carey Price put the gear away completely every summer, religiously. Back of the garage, don't want to see it until August 1st. Didn't want to think about it. Still did his training, but there was no gear involved. I know guys who have been on the ice for a month already, working on their craft. So it is very unique. Might depend on where you're at in your career. Like Thatcher Demko doesn't need to improve or change his post play or his movement patterns or anything like that. Like he has in Clark's system dialed, right? So it's not like he needs to go on any, technical discoveries in the offseason. I'm going to be heading up to Kelowna next week by the looks of it. And there's a handful of guys that are up there on the ice, but also off the ice, working with the same trainer that Thatcher now works with, Adam Francilia, who, Hellebuck would be at the top of the list along with Demko, but has, I can't disclose the whole client list, but it's well into double digits, might be close to half the league starters right now work with this guy and are in, Kelowna, some next week, some really big names, some that are public, some that aren't. And they're there, I would say a combination of both. They're working on the physical in terms of a new way of sort of training, but also holding your body, moving, stance, mechanics, efficiency. It all kind of ties in together. And so you may have caught a glimpse of this last summer, because I know they did some sessions here in Vancouver where, Adam would be out on the ice with a Thatcher Demko, and he literally wheels out like a cart, like you would pull to the beach with all the Quads beach toys and Irf's drinks,
Like
for an afternoon at the beach. A wagon. There you go. Thanks, Quads. It's been a while since my kids actually had a wagon, so I couldn't remember. Like a wagon. He would, and it's like there's bungee cords and there's all these kinds of tools, and like he's strapping them to posts and he's got things around each leg. Like it's pretty interesting to watch, and it's all about training the body to move in a way that it's going to protect it from the rigors of the position, because obviously there's a toll that this position takes. Thatcher's not alone. Goalies are dropping all over the place on a more regular basis in the NHL, and so the work, that used to be off ice. Now that work actually translates on ice. You're working on both things at the same time, and so it's I think that's the next step in goalies maybe getting back ahead of the players a little bit is to dig into the nth degree, almost like a golf swing. Like we're into biomechanics and biometrics here. Like we are breaking it down to that degree, slow-mo video, everything, to try and find every little piece of efficiency we can to try and stay ahead of the shooters that are, for the last number of seasons now, learning how to exploit the way we've moved as goaltenders for the last 20 years. We have to get back ahead of that curve.
Kevin, this is a question from a listener of ours in the YouTube live chat. Karn, he said, what does Ian Clark do that is so effective compared to other goalie coaches? Seems to pull out the best from everyone. And as always, we know you're going to start this answer with, I'm biased, but
there's some elements of his post play that I believe in because I've seen it. Some inside out entries, some things that they do differently, so we don't see some of the dead angle goals that became such a hot topic in the playoffs, the bad angle goals over the reverse VH. You could argue Clarkie's goalies are in the reverse VH, especially the taller ones, more than anyone. And yet, when's the last time you saw them get short-sided high from the goal line, right? So the way he does it, there are subtle differences, especially, again, that inside-out entry into it, the transitions, entries, exits, things like that, that are effective. At the end of the day, he demands more out of them, and you could argue pushes them harder than, frankly, I think anybody else in the league. And there are some questions, from people from the outside looking in about whether maybe some of these injury things linked to that in terms of the goalies and the demands put on them. But, I know in his mind, and this is the message he delivers to them, it's the most important position in the game, on the team, on the ice. So we have to be the hardest workers. And so he demands that. You do not last long under Ian Clark if you are not willing to do the work. And I think the combination of the technical expertise and the strength of belief in the way he teaches that technical aspect, along with how hard he pushes them so that it's all instinctual, so that by the time you get on the ice, you don't have to think about it. It's the old Top Gun reference. I also always like to make quads. If you think out there, you're dead. And so thank God for the second movie, by the way, because we had a whole generation of young goalies I'd never seen the first that looked at me like I had two heads when I used that line. But you need it to be instinctual. And so if you're working on this, is why a lot of his goalies, when they leave, struggle elsewhere, because they think that I've got it. I've been doing it so long. I've got it. And then you don't have somebody reminding you every day in practice, and all of a sudden you're not doing it in a game, and it's not instinctual, and you've forgotten it. He makes sure that when the puck drops on the game, they're not thinking about these things. It is all habit by then.
I thought Top Gun was a show. That's a movie.
Stop it.
I've never seen Top Gun. I'll just say that. I was like, Top Gun 2. I was like, Top Gun 2. Kevin said there's a second one.
Like, I don't know what's worse, Irf, that he admitted he was drinking a Bellini earlier, or that he's all in on not seeing Top Gun here. Like,
he's actually all in on not seeing Top Gun.
Well, I'll watch it. I don't know. There's a lot of movies I haven't seen. Kevin, what's the Kevin Woodley summer regimen? When does the training start?
It started already, actually. I was on the ice this week for the first time in 4 months. A little meniscus tear in the knee that's kept me off and slowed me down. And so our wonderful medical system doesn't have me set up for surgery just yet. So while I wait, I have to do a lot of work to make sure I can play another season. Because when you get as old as me, if you take a season off, chances are there's not going to be another one.
I'll get on the ice with you soon. You can coach me.
I want to see the first instructions from Coach Kevin. Go watch Top Gun. Both of them. And easy on the Bellinis when you do.
We'll see. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us. Much appreciated. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care, guys.
There he is, Kevin Woodley. My new thing, whenever Kevin's on the show, I'm going to come up with a new nickname that he's never been given before.
No, you know what you need to do?
Tell me.
is you need to watch Top Gun, and whenever he's on the show, you need to just throw out a reference.
You know what? I might do
Just
that
throw
too.
Just 1 or 2 lines.
Yeah. You've seen
Both multiple times.
Are they're good
Those
movies?
good movies.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
What's some other movies you want to talk about?
We're gonna talk about
See, Shrek 5's coming out?
Yeah,
You've seen all the Shrek movies, right?
2025.
No, 2026, isn't it?
Okay, so it's another year.
I'm still excited about it.
There's a lot more movies coming up before that.
You've seen all the Shrek movies?
I have.
I've seen those multiple times.
Yep.
Like I could quote every Shrek movie.
Can you?
Oh, for sure. Like
Yeah.
I think I can remember what scene's coming next. I've watched Shrek.
I am
big
a big kind of Disney Pixar guy too. So there's a lot of those that I
Nice.
do as well.
Nice. I haven't watched many of the new. Like, have you watched like Inside Out and stuff?
Yes.
Okay, I haven't seen those.
Yeah.
Yeah, check it out.
It's a lot of good stuff to watch when there's nothing to watch.
There is
There's no
Cars.
sports.
I'm big into Cars.
Yeah, Cars is good.
Oh, Cars is so good. Although I've never seen Cars 3. Never.
No.
Just never bothered. Is there Cars 4?
I'm not entirely
I
sure.
don't think so. Ka-chow. Owen Wilson's out here. You seen that? He's
Yeah,
all over.
Owen Wilson's always
Yeah, I
here.
wonder what he's doing. Anyways. Okay. Let's move on.
He's
I
having
dropped
a lot of fun. That's what he's doing.
I dropped a ka-chow on today's show, which I didn't expect, but I did it. So let's get to another Vancouver Canucks topic right after I tell you about the Vancouver Bandits. No, I'm not ready to tell you about the Vancouver Bandits, but I'm excited to tell you about the Vancouver Bandits because have you been to a Vancouver Bandits game?
I haven't.
Okay. Well,
Heard they're fun.
they're fighting for first place.
Okay, so
In
they're
the
really
West.
fun.
Yep. They're currently sitting in first place with only a few games left before the playoffs. The Bandits are home this Saturday against the Winnipeg Sea Bears, and there's no better time to get out to the Langley Events Center. Tickets start at just $20 to get your hands on yours. And for more info, go to, you're hearing this right, thebandits.ca. That's a cool URL. I always say that every time I do the Bandits ad read. Shout out to the
Bandits is a
Bandits.
good name.
It is. It's a really good name, and they've got a nice. Actually, what's their mascot? I got to see their mascot now. I was gonna say they got a nice logo, but there's tons of mascot potential there too. Yeah, I knew it. Barry the Bandit is the mascot of the Vancouver Bandits, and that's a great looking mascot.
Yeah.
Get out to the LEC. Go meet Barry the Bandit, folks. Live my dreams. Go meet Barry the Bandit. Okay, let's get to our poll question, which is brought to you by Bet365. A proud partner of Canucks Conversation. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets, whatever the sport, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Be sure to use code VANBONUS when you sign up for an account. All right, pull it up. Let's see it. The poll question today, we kept it simple. Will the Canucks repeat as division champions right now at the time of this? And we did put it out like 5 minutes before the show started. It's a 50-50 split. People can't decide if the Canucks are going to repeat as Pacific Division champions. 50% say yes, 50% say no. What say you, Irfaan Gaffar?
Well, I'm not one of the 15 people that say yes, so I'm going to go and be the 16th person and say no.
Okay.
I think it's just going to be, it's difficult to do, right? I mean, look, I think that everything that happened for the Vancouver Canucks last season, everything went extremely well. Like you look at JT Miller, over 100 points. You look at Brock Besser, over 40 goals. I mean, Elias Pettersson was putting up ridiculous numbers. At one point in the season, the three leading scorers in the National Hockey League were JT Miller,
Elias
Pettersson, and Quinn Hughes. Yeah. So I don't think that's going to happen again. I mean, look,
Hot taker.
I don't think it's going to happen again. But look, it's difficult. Edmonton got better.
Yep.
The Kings don't know what they're doing, but
they're worse. You can say it. They're worse.
They're worse. Don't really have a goalie.
Yeah.
Or really much of a defense.
Or forward. They flopped on their big forward, right?
I mean, they got Fiala. He's pretty good.
They got Fiala.
That Arvidsson's gone.
Byfield's coming.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Byfield's there.
Yeah. Well, I think Byfield's going to take a step.
Yeah,
Anaheim is just
they got
happy
Warren
to be
Fogle.
wearing flip-flops.
They
to
did
the
get
ring.
Warren. You're right, Greg.
Warren
Joel
Fogle. Warren Fogle manifested that so hard. He wore the Kobe shirt
Right.
to all those games against the Florida Panthers in the playoffs, and they reached to Game 7, and then you know what happened to the others.
Had to bring him in.
Yeah, Fogle, and then what was it San Jose? You don't know what they're doing. Anaheim, really?
No, that's the thing. As we
Seattle-
go the list, all we're gonna find
The
is
Flames
that the Pacific.
stink. The Flames stink.
Yeah, the Flames are gonna suck. The Pacific's wide open for the Canucks. Can they win the Pacific Division? We should only be talking about one team, and that's the Edmonton Oilers. Right?
Vegas might be there.
You think Vegas?
As much as the guys that they got rid of, if you still look at that team as a whole, they're stacked. They
Do you really think the Vegas Golden Knights are stacked right now?
Vegas is always going to be there. Unless they lose Pietrangelo. If they lose him long term, which there's some rumblings out there that he's got an injury and he might not be ready for the season. And beyond that, people aren't really sure.
Are we calling this team stacked?
They're pretty good.
But you said stacked 2 seconds ago.
Okay, read me the top line.
We went for stacked.
Okay, read me the top three centers.
Ivan Barbashev, Jack Eichel, Victor Olofsson is your first line.
Will your 3 centers are Jack Eichel, Thomas Hertl, and William Karlsson. I'm taking that over a lot of teams.
Over a lot of teams. Are you taking it over the Canucks?
No.
Nick Watt, 4C, pretty good.
Well, I'm taking Eichel. I'm taking Eichel over Pettersson.
Yeah, okay.
I'm taking Karlsson over the third line center.
Yep.
But I'm not taking
anybody over
Hertl over JT Miller.
Yeah. Okay.
So 2 of the 3.
Forward group as a whole. Are you taking the Vegas Golden Knights forward group or the Vancouver Canucks forward group? I'm taking Canucks every day of the week.
I'm taking Mark Stone over Besser. For sure.
Okay.
I'm taking. What else is on that list? I can't see it. There we go. Thank you. This is great. I'm just gonna look at it right here.
Oh, I clicked.
Oh,
just get it back.
How do you use your computer?
Get your back spot up there.
There we go.
There you go. Now I can.
Yeah, that top line's not very good for Eichel.
Except for Eichel.
Yeah.
Exactly. So as a whole, because we're doing this series right now,
Your third and fourth lines,
may
be equivalent, and they might have the edge because they have William Karlsson there, who had 30-something goals as a third line center, and could have won, and was almost in consideration for winning the Conn Smythe Trophy if it wasn't for Mark.
Sure, but
they have Brendan Brisson and Alexander Holtz on their third line, where the Canucks have Dakota Joshua and Connor Garland. I'll take the Canucks.
That's
what I'm saying. But their fourth line's better.
Yeah,
really.
Howden, Walk,
Kiefer Sherwood. You don't like Kiefer Sherwood? Not a Kiefer Sherwood guy.
I mean, I'm a Kiefer Sherwood guy, but
he's the next Dakota Joshua. Streets are saying.
If Vasily Podkolzin would stand
up. God. Yeah, here comes Vasily Podkolzin chatter.
But they're still good. They're still a good team.
Yeah, they're fair. They will compete. Compete. But when we're
let's the Oilers.
It's the Oilers. It's the Oilers, right? It's the Oilers. The Canucks are, I don't want to say safe, but they're probably going to get a top 3 spot in the Pacific.
Yes, for sure. And I think a lot of it has to do with health too. Like the Vancouver Canucks were, for a better part of the entire year, very healthy.
Yeah.
Susie got hurt a couple times, and then
they get Zadorov as soon as Susie goes down.
And then Demko. And then you add Lindholm as well in January. So if the Canucks are in a position to add, like they were early on in this season with the hot start that they had, and they go and they do that, then probably. But right now, if you're asking me, I'm not entirely sure. I think that they're going to repeat. It's just difficult to do. It's difficult to have all the success and every player to have as much success as they did very early on. So that's the only reason why I say no.
Fair enough. Can't bank on that. That was our poll question brought to you by Bet365. We're going to talk about them later. Make sure you use Van Bonus when you sign up for an account. Okay. I'm very pleased to tell you about the Bad for Baseball podcast. Nick Palilog and Adam Peddle host Bad for Baseball, the most unapologetic, in-your-face baseball podcast that delivers weekly unfiltered takes on the good and the bad around MLB and the world of baseball. Since 2020, Nick and Adam have been entertaining Blue Jays fans with their commentary and live streams on their YouTube channel, Blue Jays Today. But their love of baseball goes much deeper than just one team. After the Shohei Ohtani free agency drama, the guys knew they needed an outlet to talk ball outside of their hometown team. New episodes of Bad for Baseball drop every Monday and Thursday on the Bad for Baseball YouTube channel or wherever you stream your podcast.
Let's see that shirt.
I got my shirt on right now. So this is a Blue Jays Today shirt. They got these shirts out after the Shohei Ohtani drama because I can't remember. I think it was John Heyman, one of the pundits in the States, was like, "Oh, this is good for baseball that Shohei Ohtani thought better of signing in Toronto and is going to the Dodgers. This is good for baseball." So they have their hashtag Bad for Baseball shirt, and I liked it, and I bought it, and I bought a Blue Jays Today shirt. So now they have a podcast by the same name, and it's fitting that I'm wearing it today. Bad for Baseball. Speaking of baseball, sorry,
you buy it at the children's store?
What do you mean?
It's a little small.
Okay, so kids extra small.
It's a little tight.
No.
Or have you been working out?
I'm not trying to toot my own horn.
Oh, you are by saying that.
I am working out,
Okay.
but
Did you shrink your shirt?
I also shrunk my shirt.
There you go.
It
He's
was.
leaving
It
it
was
Did you
too
shrink your
long.
shirt accidentally on purpose?
Yeah.
It was bigger when it got here. No, I don't just do my laundry. That's the problem. I shrunk everybody's clothes.
Do you not know how to do laundry?
No,
You don't watch Top Gun. You can't do laundry.
I can do laundry. I'm not good at laundry. Like I wouldn't put it on like my resume as a skill.
Quads. I shrunk one of Erica's like high-end Aritzia
Yeah,
vests the
can't
other
do
day.
that. Can't do
Don't
that.
put wool in the dryer, guys.
Yeah,
not
wool.
that hard to do
Can't
laundry.
Well, this isn't wool. What do you suggest? I'm not hang drying. I'm very against hang drying.
Why?
Because getting the rack out
Your
and all.
shirt wouldn't fit you properly if you hang dry
My
it.
shirt fits okay. It's fine. It's a little small, but hang dry is so annoying. I got a dog too, so he like
You jump up and get the
yeah,
clothes?
yes,
It's a game for
literally.
him.
Yeah, he gets super excited about socks. Anyways, we're getting off topic. Let's get back on topic and talk more about baseball because it's time for Anyone Else, presented by the Vancouver Canadians. The Seas are out on the road. We'll be back home on July 19th. That's Friday, folks, for a 3-game set that includes a nooner at the Nat, a fireworks extravaganza, and a family fun Sunday. They'll then be back on July 30th for 12 straight at Nat Bailey. These games are sure to be packed, so get your tickets early. Don't wait. Call 604-872-5232 or go to CanadiansBaseball.com. I'll tell you what, folks, I'm wearing my Seas hat today. Well, I'm wearing like two ad reads that I had to do. I'm wearing the merch.
It's a walking billboard.
I'm a walking billboard. I'll tell you, I've been to one Seas game this year. I've only been to one. And I'm quickly realizing that I might be running out of time to get out to the Nat. So I got to buy my tickets. I got to get on it quick.
One of the best things to do in the summer in Vancouver. I haven't been to one this year. One of the best things to do in the summer is go to a Seas game.
Absolutely.
Not
And
even a question. Lions games are now turning into being fun.
yeah, they're getting fun.
What Amar Doman and his crew have done there is an incredible job. But and obviously they're hosting the Grey Cup as well. But yeah, no, Seas games definitely are a must do if you're a Vancouverite.
Go see the next wave of MLB stars. Like Trey Savage, drafted by the Blue Jays. He's going to be out there. Like, I think he'll immediately, like, he's not a long-term project. His numbers are really good in college. Not a long-term project. Yeah, I just wanted to drop that. Trey Savage is a great name, obviously. But I think, like, he's probably going to go, they're not going to start him in Double A. He's probably going to start right with the Seas in High A.
Yeah.
Then maybe he starts next year in Double A. Then maybe he gets a late season call-up, Triple A.
A few years ago, Nate Pearson was the pitcher for the Jays. He was here.
Manoah.
Yeah, Manoah was here. Way
David
back.
Schneider was there.
Yeah, way back. Nick Swisher ran.
Aaron
ran
Sanchez.
through. Yeah, Aaron Sanchez.
Was Stroman here? Did
Yep.
he just end?
Yep.
Yeah, he did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Miss Vladdy. Miss Bichette.
Or
Although
Elvis
those guys weren't
Martinez.
anywhere- Yeah.
Yeah.
Currently suspended.
Nice pull.
Let's just name a bunch of C's.
Yeah.
John Schneider.
Yes.
John Schneider, yes.
He was the Seas manager like 2 years ago. Three years ago, maybe.
Was it 3?
I don't
He worked his way up pretty fast if
Yeah.
that's the case.
Yeah, no. It was yeah. Maybe not 3. Maybe I'm stuck. Maybe it was right before COVID. I got to see when he was the Seas manager.
Nevertheless, it's a fun thing to do in the summer.
It is. Who's their current manager? I don't know. All right. Anyways. Yeah, he was the manager for a long time with the Canadians. But anyways, okay, let's get to some actual listener questions. Who is your ideal trade target for this season? Mine is Rasmus Anderson. That one from Karn in the YouTube live chat. I don't know if I have a target on top of my head, but I almost look at it and say, I'd like to have a target depending on who goes down, right? Like who do you need to replace? When they need to replace Carson Soucy, they went out and got Nikita Zadorov.
Yeah. But I don't think you can wait like that though. What if they're healthy in December?
I don't
like you if you're in the position that they were in,
Yeah.
and you're healthy, you go get another score.
In December? You think so?
If you're healthy and you were in the position you were last season and you're near the top of the division,
Yeah.
My
I guess they like to
my
get the work
points
done early.
my points where I look at it of where to measure a season, and it's always been like this from people that I've talked to. There's certain points that you look at your team and you're either in or you're out, or you're wherever. So it's the American Thanksgiving, late November.
Yeah.
That's kind of where teams judge of what kind of team they're going to be. You go right around All-Star break, which instead this time will be the Four Nations tournament.
Thank God.
in February. And then after that, it's the trade deadline, right? And that's where you kind of separate yourself from being a pretender or someone that thinks that we can load up here and try and do something and go win a Stanley Cup. And I think that if you're the Canucks and you're in a position in mid-November, kind of like they were last season, and then Susie goes down and you had the opportunity to get Zadorov, you go do that. And then they took care of their business before the deadline because at the All-Star break, they knew they were a good team. They knew they were going to win the division. So then you go get Lindholm right at then, right? January 31st. And then the deadline, when everyone thought they should have went and got someone, what happened? They said that they were in on everybody, but they weren't able to make anything work. And, you make it to the game 7 of the second round, 1 win away from the conference final. And here we are and talking about this again.
Accrue some cap space, accrue some cap space, and you should be able to actually go do something at the deadline. That really hurt them this year at the deadline.
Yeah.
Chris Tanev comes to mind. Okay. Tyson Carter here. Or sorry, did you have a target you wanted to throw out there?
Nope.
Okay.
Tyson. I just think it's, look, I think it's, everyone always wants another scorer.
Yeah.
Right. If you're asking Rick Tocchet, I bet you want someone else on that top 6 to be able to put the puck in the net. Right. If Brock doesn't get 40, someone's got to make up for those points.
Yep.
Or goals. Sorry.
Tyson Carter. What does a Nikolai Ehlers trade package look like? Does Höglander plus a pick get it done with the Jets retaining, or does Garland have to be involved? I hate doing this. I hate doing the trade package thing because you never actually know what it's going to cost. I would say it starts with Höglander and a first-round pick. Starts.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Jets are retaining on
No,
that.
I don't think the Jets are retaining either.
I think they can get more. They can get more. That's ultimately the thing.
They can probably get more without retaining somewhere else.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So it's going to...
It starts with Höglander in a first.
Yeah. Starts with Höglander in a first.
Like, the Jets do need NHL players that they have control over. Right?
Yeah.
And even the players they have control over aren't working out so well these days. But anyways, did you want to talk about the MLB All-Star game? Because we were chatting about it before.
Did you watch the anthem? For
yes,
the home run derby?
Oh,
I felt bad.
Well,
for that
clearly
girl.
she felt bad after, but yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, beyond. Never mind. Skeens. Like we were talking before the show started, like must see appointment viewing, TV, or buying a ticket for, or something like that in sports. Like most people probably in the hockey world, they're like, okay, we got to go. You pay to go see Connor McDavid, right? You're paying to probably go see Sidney Crosby. You're paying to probably go see Ovi because those guys have done it, been around for so long. Austin Matthews probably can sell some tickets in certain markets. And then, Connor Bedard, definitely the young and up and comers. But in baseball right now, like you think about it, it's Ohtani. Obviously, you think it's bigger, but for must see appointment viewing to go, and this guy's going to play, it's Skeens, and it's crazy. So as much as people wanted Sale to start, you can speak to this more obviously, and is probably having the better year. The MLB did a fantastic job of making people have their asses in their seats and in front of their television because they knew exactly what they were going to get when the game started.
A couple of things here. Like Chris Sale is probably going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He's 35 years old. It
should be a Hall of Famer.
Yep. How many All-Star games has he already started? It's
many?
3 or 4.
Yeah, many.
Like it's either 3 or it's 4. He's got a 2.70 ERA, which is the 7th best in the league right now. His whip is really low. He's striking out a ton of guys. He's doing basically everything that you would want your All-Star game starter to be. The Paul Skeens thing, and I almost don't listen to this argument anymore because one, Chris Sale pitched the day before the All-Star game, so he probably wasn't going to be able to do it anyways. But if he was told, yeah, you're going to start, he'd probably have just made it work, and they probably would have just held him or done something different. But for Skeens, a lot of it, the conversation before, and I say before because there was the last start before the All-Star game for Skeens,
was
is
unreal.
what we're going to talk about. But the conversation was like, oh, he's dating Livy Dunn. Like, that's how you get people. Livy Dunn's going to post more about the All-Star game or whatever, right?
The baseball folk don't give a
no,
about
that's the thing is you want eyes on the game. So people are saying like, oh yeah, like this is your most marketable star. Yeah,
he's not even that marketable. Have you heard him in interviews?
No, I know, but he's been on McAfee, right? He's been on McAfee.
Have you heard him in interviews?
Yeah, he's been on McAfee. He's dating Livy Dunn. That's your most marketable player in the league. Who's more marketable in the MLB than
he's
Paul
not
Skeens?
though, but just
who's more marketable than Paul Skeens?
Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani.
Shohei, without a doubt.
More than Paul
Japanese.
Skeens?
Oh yeah.
Okay, internationally,
sure.
100%. Shohei Ohtani is not more marketable than Paul Skeens to people in the States.
Plays in Los Angeles.
To people in the States.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is like 90% of Major League Baseball fans.
No, it's not 90.
Not 90, okay. But this is the conversation we're having, is who is the most marketable star It's Paul Skeens. It's Paul Skeens. So back to what I was saying, though, is that you're looking at it and saying, okay, maybe he doesn't deserve it the most, but he's okay. Will you give me that he's more marketable than Chris Sale?
Yeah.
Than 35-year-old Chris Sale, who
Dude, 35-year-old Chris Sale, but he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Who once cut up a bunch of jerseys with the Chicago White Sox. That's what got him out of Chicago. You know that story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is my point, is that it became less about, okay, well, maybe he's not the most deserving guy. Right before that decision had to be made, Paul Skeens went out and took a no-hitter through 7 innings. He got pulled from the game because his pitch count was at 99.
Yes, but I'm not disagreeing with you that he's starting the game because baseball knows that they had to get their asses in seats, not because of who he's dating or because of whatever. It's because of how good he is as an athlete. And for so long, we haven't had a guy this good this early that people are like, oh my God, we need to go see this guy because we don't know how long baseball careers are going to last.
Dude, the last guy was Steven Strasburg. Like the last
that was the last
pitcher.
But he came back and won though. Remember? Didn't he?
What do you mean?
Didn't Strasburg get hurt and then come back after and he ended up winning World Series?
Oh yeah. He's gotten multiple Tommy John surgeries. Yeah, absolutely. But there's a guy who, again, threw a lot of innings, like led Major League Baseball in innings pitched in 2019. We're talking about 35-year-old Chris Sale. Steven Strasburg's 35. Chris Sale's in conversations to compete for All-Star games. Steven Strasburg hasn't pitched since 2022. And he pitched like 3 games before that in 2021.
Okay, but what's your argument here?
Yeah, I'm just talking about workload for guys. And now I guess I'm moving the conversation too much.
But the pitchers in the All-Star game didn't play 2 innings anyways.
No, I'm sorry. I'm talking about Paul Skeens being the most hyped guy.
Yes.
With Steven Strasburg being the last one. And Steven Strasburg being a guy who is overused, and that's why they're limiting Paul Skeens in what he's able to do on game days.
They're just being smart and protecting their investment. Wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Steven Strasburg, Tim Lincecum. Tim Lincecum threw 2 no-hitters in his career.
Yeah.
What's Tim Lincecum doing now? Isn't Tim Lincecum even younger than Strasburg?
Like Quinn Hughes isn't playing 35 minutes a night.
Yeah.
For Rick Tocchet. Elias Pettersson's not playing 28 minutes a night. It's protecting investments and it's getting more from everyone else. And that Pirates team has their future right there. So you do whatever you need to do and you build around that man. And you hope that, when it is, if you can get to, the playoffs and eventually hope you make it to the World Series, that your ace is ready to go.
So Lincecum's older, but he had just a 4-year run, really, where he was really dominant. But
he was wild in those 4. Oh, man,
when
you remember his
was
wind up?
Yeah.
Lean
back.
Yeah, it was the craziest thing.
What was he listed at? He's like 5'11", isn't he?
And he made himself look like he was 6'4". It's like what you're doing with that shirt.
That's right.
It was the torque in his pitch.
Yes.
Yeah.
He changed pitching. Hey, as a little guy who watched Tim Lincecum when he was I was 8 years old when Tim Lincecum was an All-Star, I was like, oh, I could do that. I could lean back a little bit more. Change the total mechanics of the position. All legs. It was so cool to watch. So cool to watch. But again, that's a guy who he's thrown 150 pitches in a game. More. He's done that more than one. Yeah. Anyways. Nick P in the chat. I'm old. I don't know who Livy Dunn is. Okay, this is a hockey question. How much DeBrusk play versus right wing? Do you expect he can play whichever side is needed? I'm worried we're weak on the right side, but I also don't know anything about anything. Well, I like that. I also don't know anything about anything. I think he's played both. He plays both.
He plays both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's one of those guys that can just play both. And I think he even said that in his media avail that he did when he came to Vancouver. Speaking of
I don't think there's anything where you can really look at and say how many games he played left, right, and right wing.
Did you see his appearance on Chem Strick podcast?
I saw a little bit of it. Yeah, bits and pieces.
Okay, there's a snippet. We
when he talks JT Miller?
Yeah, no, I wasn't even gonna bring that up. I hadn't seen that yet. Was it something cool? What did he say about JT Miller?
He said he was just a pain in their ass. It was his first career, or his first year in Boston when JT was in Tampa, and said JT was an absolute pain in the ass, which makes sense.
That's fair.
It checks out.
He's gonna say the same thing after. No, I'm just kidding.
He might not.
Yeah, he's talking about how he's excited to get to Vancouver, all that sort of stuff. But he did touch on his time in Boston and the multiple trade requests and how it was just probably not the best situation for him to be in. Wasn't happy by the end of it, to say the least. Had nothing but good things to say about the city, but didn't really like the organization. What went wrong for DeBrusk in Boston?
I don't know, to be honest. I think it might have been a little bit of coaching. Bruce Cassidy near the end of that, I think that rubbed some people the wrong way there. And I think it was playing time. I think he was hurt a little bit as well. Frustration, right? I mean, that's kind of generally why people want out, is they're not happy with the way that they're playing. Sometimes you need a change of scenery. Sometimes, things just aren't working for you in your life on and off the ice in that certain city. And, you're affected by it. And now he's got a huge contract for him, 7 years, $5.5 million a season, to come and play in a pretty big market here in Vancouver, and a demanding one, right? People expect a lot out of you when you play for the Vancouver Canucks, and he's going to learn that very quickly. Boston, yes, it's a very good sports city. There's other focuses there. There's the New England Patriots, there's the Boston Celtics, there's the Red Sox. There's a lot of other teams there that people can go after and say, if the Bruins aren't doing so well, here we go. For the Vancouver Canucks, all eyes are on you, right? When you're playing well, especially with the success they had last season and the moves that they made this season to get better. So you go and you look at Jake DeBrusk. He's the shiny new toy, right? Elias Pettersson's contract kicked in. No one's going to talk about Elias Pettersson until the playoffs next season, because whatever he does in the regular season isn't going to matter until we get to the postseason. What Jake DeBrusk does in the regular season here is going to matter.
Yeah.
And I think people are going to need to, and I think Jake DeBrusk realizes that. I think that, he's a guy that's going to go and look at it and come in with, open arms and take everything that's given to him. And I think that just the way that he plays the game, he feels like a Rick Tocchet guy.
I've thrown the 30 goals prediction out already.
30?
Yeah, 30.
I can see it.
Playing with Elias Pettersson?
I don't care who he plays with. He's going to play with Miller. He's going to play with Pettersson.
He's going to play with one of the two. I can see it.
He's going to play in the power play.
Yeah, he's going to play in the power
He
play.
should get about 2 more minutes roughly of ice time per game. Like in Boston, he was around like 16, 30 something.
I got him at 30. 30 goals. Book it.
I'd say 25.
I say 30.
Okay.
And can he be that answer?
Putting lunch on this?
Another lunch.
Can he be that answer in the bumper spot? Because for all those years in Boston, it was Patrice Bergeron, right?
Yep.
What have the Canucks missed since Bo Horvat left? That left shot sniper that can feed off those bank passes down low, Miller into the slot. Boom. So,
And DeBrusk
there's
can
just
score
so
from
much
in
more
close.
on that power play than getting a bumper guy, though. Like,
yeah.
Yep.
Well,
it's-
puck retrievals, right?
puck retrievals.
And that's
it's
one
stagnant.
one stat that DeBrusk stood out at is
Yeah.
getting ozone retrievals on the power play. He was like tops in the league.
Let's also not forget, though, that when you don't have an actual threat in the bumper position, penalty killers are cheating on you. Like, it's happening all the time. That's what we saw a lot. So, yeah, puck retrievals, and there's other things with the power play. But adding a competent bumper spot, right? Like, that really does help. That should open up a ton of options.
Well, it's also us putting players and getting them in smarter positions. Like when you're having a guy like Quinn Hughes and he's beating the forward along the boards and Quinn Hughes is skating down the wall, there needs to be someone on that power play unit, whether it's bumper, whether it's someone else that's going in the net. And how many times do we watch and it never happened? And then Quinn just skates all the way around.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh my God, look at this shift from Quinn Hughes. No, Quinn doesn't want to be doing that every single power play. He wants to pass the puck to try and score a goal. Right. And I think that there's a lot that's going to go into it. But they're new, Yogi's going to have a lot to do with the power play. So it's going to be interesting to see what it looks like. And again, it's always fun for coaches to go and get to work things out and dig into things and, play with big, shiny new toys that I'm sure that they're excited about.
They need that threat back on the far side of Elias Pettersson's one-timer going again.
Yep. He's just got to go and practice it in Sweden to make sure it's still there.
He's doing a summer camp right now.
Yes.
He's coaching.
Is he playing?
Camp.
No?
Okay. I always like that with the NBA players summer camp where they're like, okay, I'm going to let a camper go one-on-one with me. That always cracks me up. I like that.
I'm not sure after the postseason he wants a camper to go one-on-one with him.
Defender's poking the puck off his stick. He falls down.
No,
Okay.
I mean, it's great. Look, he's doing it for the kids, which is great. But yeah, no, like I said, you get that one-timer Grady, I agree with you. The threat of having that is definitely going to be something that defenses need to worry about. And then, Brock, right? 16 of his 40 goals came on the power play in awful areas and dirty areas of the game. DeBrusk's going to be a guy too that can be put in that position as well. So, yeah, it should be fun.
Okay, let's get to our Bet365 bet of the day, which is brought to you by You guessed it. Bet 365. Our bet today, yeah, that's right. Taking the Pittsburgh Pirates to beat the Philadelphia Phillies on Friday, July 19th, when they're back in action. Plus 115 currently on the money line. It's not a Paul Skeens start, I don't think, but good value there. Pittsburgh Pirates at plus money against Phillies. Phillies going to be tired. A lot of all-stars. Pirates don't have many all-stars.
No.
See my logic here? Plus 115. Pirates, the Buccos, raise it to take down the Phillies. Must be 90 plus to play. If you choose to play, please play responsibly and be sure to use code VANBONUS when you sign up for an account. Irf, this was a ton of fun. Thanks so much.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Always nice having you in. I think we're going to take next week off, but we'll be back the week after that. I think Harman will be back at that point, but we'll be having you on plenty more, I'm sure. Maybe some more bets. Do you want to do the DeBrusk bet? You want to do it?
Fine.
If he scores 30?
Dinner?
Yeah. Deal. Okay.
I hope he gets 29.
Is it?
I lost to Hughes. I said Hughes, 20 goals last year.
What, he had 19?
Yeah, I think he had 19.
Yeah.
Well, let's set the official line and then at 29.5.
Yep.
To
I'll take the
avoid
over.
Any pushes. Nobody likes a push.
All right.
No, 29.5. All right. We'll close it out there. For my co-host, Irfaan Gaffar, and our technical producer, Grady Sass, my name is Dave Petrelli. Thank you so much for the service of Canucks Conversation. Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.